War Incorporated movie review. Yeah, by the way, the title of this movie is War, INC period. So like War Inc. But I believe it's supposed to be pronounced War Incorporated. So I really hate to be too hard on this movie because I like socially conscious movies and I wish Hollywood would make more of them. Any idiot can write a movie script that simply connects a series of explosions. To do something with a political bite is a lot harder, and as such, these movies tend to fall on their faces a lot more. But as with any other genre, the more they keep trying, the greater the possibility that someone will get it right one of these days. So, hopefully, they'll keep experimenting with these movies until they get it right. Hopefully. But this movie isn't that movie. This movie is not the one that gets it right. The movie is not at all subtle. From the opening prologue to the speech at the end, this movie really hits you over the head with the fact that they are satirizing the Iraq War. In fact, as I watched this movie with my friend, we kept turning to each other, nodding our heads and saying, "Real subtle." You could almost make a drinking game out of this movie. Every time the movie is not being subtle in any way, you'd have to take a shot. It would probably be tough to make it all the way to the end of the movie. Now, I think most of us absorbed somewhere in our high school literature classes the idea that the knife's blade of subtlety is always superior to someone banging you over the head with a hammer. But I believe in this world there's room for both. For example, A Modest Proposal, the essay with which most high school students are taught about satire, it may be ironic, but it's not subtle at all. And when you have something like the Iraq War, sometimes there's not always a lot of room for subtlety, or as satirists often say nowadays, reality has gotten so bizarre that how can you possibly satirize it in any subtle way? I mean, the Iraq War, it was a clear violation of international law. The public was misled into the war by lies. There was a callous disregard for human life by the people who led us into this war. What really is there left to be subtle about? Because a movie like War Incorporated isn't afraid to call these things out on face value, I really enjoyed the first 15 minutes of it. The problem is that this movie really only has about 15 minutes of good material. Once you get the joke, once you clue in to what they're doing here, then that same gag just gets repeated over and over again for the whole rest of the movie. Now, obviously, the movie producers were hoping that the story about the hitman and some of the action scenes and the romantic comedy bit would carry the rest of the movie, but unfortunately, they don't. The comedy is not really all that funny. It rarely got a laugh out of me. The plot is so predictable that it's embarrassing. I could see all the twists coming a mile away. Actually, that's a small lie. It did catch me by surprise in the sense that I thought I saw these twists coming, and then I thought to myself, no, they're not going to do that. That's way too obvious. And then they did the way too obvious thing that I didn't think they were actually going to do. So in that sense, it caught me by surprise. What saves this movie is largely just the charisma of the lead actor, John Cusack. Now, as I've noted in some of my other movie reviews, John Cusack is one of my favorite actors. No one does dry humor like John Cusack, and he has plenty of opportunities to show off his deadpan wit and acting skill in this movie. The few times that I did laugh out loud, and there were a few, were all at these moments. Not the best movie in the world, but it tried hard. It was fast-paced enough that it kept my attention even when the jokes were falling flat.